good and evil. Sometimes the difference between the two is a sharp line. Sometimes it's a blur. Sometimes we have to do things outside of the law.
We're gonna make a difference. I know it doesn't feel like it sometimes, but we are.
You're blind, but you see so much.
I hear things.
You know what they call stuff like that? Gifts. I'm gonna train you. Use it.
One of the things that's most impressive in your performance is, especially in the fight scenes, that boxing is so prevalent.
I wanted the boxing to be feel as realistic as possible, just because obviously Matt grew up with his father battling Jack Murdock, who was a fighter. So I'd imagine that Matt's primary fight training would have been boxing training. Obviously, then that's extended when he meets Stick later on. But I like the idea, and I talked with Phil Silvera, the stunt coordinator, a lot about this. I like the idea that there would be a style of his fight that would always revert back to a boxing stance or a boxing, just a nod towards it, you know.
How familiar were you with either Claire Temple or Night Nurse from the comics?
Not that familiar actually at all. It was really fun talking to some, key folks that, I made sure not to do it by text or anything so Marvel wouldn't find out that I was talking illicitly about my character with non-Marvel folks, but it was great. That's what actually made it really fun for me, and thinking about, okay, I'm going to come on into the Marvel universe, and I'm going to do it like geeks, like let's see you really nerd up if you know who these characters are. And about half the people in my community of nerds knew, and the other folks didn't. So that made it actually really interesting. It was a little bit more difficult to get information, but that made me really excited to know that I get to be a part of really exploring the larger Marvel universe than Marvel or anyone else has really gotten a chance to explore, and that means we get to rewrite it a little bit,
yeah.
So it's what's there is not just sacred text, it's malleable, and to know that we're doing that and I get to be a part of that, it's literally a dream come true. My uncle's a comic book artist, and all these years later, I'm participating in these comic stories and helping to develop them and change them a little bit. That's just audacious. That's just wow. That's good stuff.
Both of your characters have such an interesting dynamic because it's the one person in Daredevil's life who he can speak with as Daredevil and kind of doesn't care that he's Matt Murdock or even necessarily know.
Yeah.
I was just saying, what I really loved is that she gets to be that audience member and kind of take him in, and
right.
and think that that's what you're seeing. You're seeing some crazy person who's dressed as as a vigilante and is really dangerous and pushing things and very vulnerable, and maybe this isn't the greatest idea and greatest costume, greatest anything. You maybe need to think this out a little bit more. And as she gets to explore him more, she gets to realize this is actually who she's seeing in front of her is the real person, and this character he puts on during the day, pretending that he's got a disability that makes him less capable, is actually that's the ruse. What he's doing is what he's capable of, and when you're capable of that, that's where you get that Stanley, with great power comes great responsibility. It's not always going to be comfortable. It's not always going to look sane, but what he's doing is actually the right thing. And I think that confuses her a little bit and compels her along her heroine journey, and that's really remarkable. That's what you want, is to be able to explore and grow and have an arc. And the second she is introduced to this person, her whole world gets flipped on end, and she's got a choice to make. And it's a fascinating one.
Yeah. Yeah. I would just say from his point of view as well, I think that on the outset, he's incredibly disappointed with himself that this person has come into his life and knows about him and has seen his face. But it turns out to be quite an interesting theme for the show, because she becomes very important to him, not just in terms of what she's able to provide him with, but also provide him with physically, but also emotionally, and who she becomes to him, and how he relies on her. As the series progresses, becomes a very important theme of the show, which is this idea that this is one man trying to do it alone, who perhaps can't do it alone, who perhaps does need the help of others, even though he is a superhero.
I respect your conviction. The lone man thinks he can make a difference.
This darkness is the light.
I'm just trying to make my city a better place.